So I'm French originally, but I left France at the age of 23, and today I'm 44, I'm 44, nearly 45, so it's been like 22 years living abroad for me. I moved to Finland in July 2019, and before that, I lived in Asia for 20 years. And so what happened is that I followed my ex-partner. She found a job initially for 9 months in a country called Laos, like a small country in the middle of Southeast Asia. And well, life happened, and we stayed there for 20 years. So I started working in the market research industry, and I worked in the market research industry for a total of 14 years, something like this. Started my career, like I said, in Laos, then I moved to Cambodia, moved to Vietnam, and then I came back to Cambodia. That was something like May or April 2014. And I changed industry. I went to work for an advertising agency, and I was given shares. So I was a minority shareholder, and that was the first time that I had shares in business. But I've always worked for entrepreneurs like all my life. And maybe, I don't know, maybe like the fact that being surrounded by entrepreneurs, like my best friend in Laos, he's an entrepreneur himself. Like my best friend in Cambodia now also is an entrepreneur himself, So I have entrepreneurs all around me. And I don't know, I was like reaching the age of 40, and I thought, damn, I need to do something for myself, otherwise I will never do it. And so in October 2017, I launched my own business. I'm a solopreneur, and I'm a business coach, and I coach entrepreneurs to help them, better structure their business and find new ways of growing. It's easy. It's a woman. another woman. So I separated with the mother of my kids, and like now it's been like maybe 5 years ago. And then I met this Finnish lady in Cambodia. And we went to, well, she had lived overseas for a while herself too. And she was thinking about going back to Europe, to getting closer to her family. And I was reaching a point in my life where after 20 something years in living in Asia, I was a bit fed up. So for those of you who've been to Asia, to Southeast Asia, you see maybe the nice beach and the sun and the palm trees and everything, but in working over there, it's more difficult than what it looks like. And I loved it. I loved it for 20 years. I love the the dynamism. There's always something happening, like all the time. I love my job. I was really proud of what I did over there. I also missed like Europe, but more than that, I also missed like the nature, for example. Of course, I missed the discipline, like people stopping at the traffic light, for instance. And I missed the cold. I've lived for 20 years in hot countries. I missed the snow. So I thought, yeah, let's go back to Europe too. And I didn't want to go back to France. So we thought, all right, let's go back to Finland, because at least someone, one of us will live in a country of origin. Like I said, I've always worked for entrepreneurs. Like I remember I started my journey running companies for others when I was 24. After 1 year working for this small research agency in Laos, the owners, they kind of came to me and they said, look, we're going to move to Cambodia. We need someone to run the business. You're kind of the only one there. So here are the keys, go on. So basically it happened like that. And I was like, okay, I had no idea at all what was expecting of me. Never run a company before. I was 24. I didn't have any confidence in myself. I was in a country that I didn't know anything about. So I thought, all right, let's do it. I've always loved a challenge though. So let's do it. And it was like a breakthrough. I loved it from the first day. I've always loved like running something, and I grew up like I changed company. I went for a bigger company, and I ended up in Vietnam where I was managing like 3 countries, a staff 150 in total. And so I climbed up the ladder, and again, always for entrepreneurs. And so even though I had not been an entrepreneur myself before that moment, I've always worked for the entrepreneur. So I've always speak the language because I had to learn all the stuff, on by myself, like on the spot. For example, one thing I had to learn was financial management. I had no clue at all about financial management. Yeah, I saw that in the business school, but there's a difference between the reality and what you are taught at school. So I had to acquire new skills, leadership. What is leadership? And I had to think like an entrepreneur. And it's running a company has always fascinated me, And then I thought, okay, I became a shareholder, like I said, and I launched my own business. And because I've been always so passionate about entrepreneurship and being surrounded by entrepreneurs, I was like, there must be something. Like there must be something around entrepreneurship. I know every company is a bit different because of the personalities of the entrepreneur, but I am sure there are ways to do entrepreneurship rightly. By rightly, I mean efficiently, but also mean ethically. And so that's why I thought, oh, let's crack the entrepreneurship code because I feel I can do it. It also gives me a purpose. On my podcast interviews, which is cracking the entrepreneurship code, that's the title. A lot of my guests talk about this sense of purpose, having an impact on others, and that's what it is for me. I really feel like I'm on a mission. Like that's my utopia, if you would. I know I will never be able to crack the entrepreneurship code because it's not. Let's face it, it's not crackable. It is so difficult, and like I said, there is no. Every company is different, and there's no secret recipe. It's a combination of many things, but still, I see some tendencies across entrepreneurs, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later when it comes to leadership, for example. What is good leadership when it comes to sales, for instance, but also when it comes to being an entrepreneur. So that's what I'm trying to do. It's an interesting question. I'm not sure I have the answer. I think first is the fact that more and more people talk about entrepreneurship. So there used to be, there have always been a lot of entrepreneurs, but we were not talking about them as much as we are now. So there's more awareness about entrepreneurship. Also pushed by the fact that there are more and more female entrepreneurs. At least that we see them now more than what we used to see them in this world of dominated by male. For example, I talked recently to a guest in Romania, female guest in Romania and in Russia, and they live in countries where entrepreneurship first is not really popular because people are like, oh, you're crazy. You don't be an entrepreneur. It's better that you find a job with a stable income, etc. Plus, they are women. So a woman entrepreneur in a country that is not open to entrepreneurship, it's even more difficult. But that is changing. So the environment is changing. People are getting more aware. I think also the pandemic has accelerated the trend. Because people lost their job, and so they thought, I need to make a living, and being an entrepreneur is a way of making a living. And maybe the pandemic, the fact that they were working from home, has given them the opportunity to launch their own business. And also what I think what's going on is, you see there's a rise of startups. We talk a lot about startup in the tech industry. We talk a lot about all these incubators and accelerators, and we see a lot of information about all these company raising tons of money. Some of them do crash. There is also, I think, the startup, it become a commodity. So what's happening is that you have VCs who need to do what they do, what they're supposed to be doing, which is invest money and make money and get some return on their investment as fast as they can. So what do they do? Well, they invest in startups. And so they push people to create startups that will fit their own requirements, not necessarily the funder requirements. And also this is why I think there is more and more entrepreneurs, because they like, oh, that's interesting. There's a lot more money available out there. I can become richer, faster, potentially. At least this is what their dream is. And so they decide to go for it. It's an interesting question. Can anyone become an entrepreneur? Well, yeah, you can. If I take the example of Asia, and India is the same. There are a lot of mom and pop shops. But basically, usually it's run by the mother in the family, because they need to make a living. There is no social security system. There's no support from the government like we can have in Europe. So, no job, no money. So to be able to make a living, to survive, well, a lot of families decide to open a shop. So they become entrepreneurs. But that is because they need to survive. Would they do it if there was more support from the government? I'm not sure. But what you see also at the same time in Asia is like there's a lot of young people who they want to become entrepreneurs because they think they're going to become rich super fast. And that is maybe the worst perception you can have about being an entrepreneur. When we see these on social media, those entrepreneurs who become rich super fast, these are the exceptions. These are not the norms. We never talk about all the 50% of the startups that close down after, I think, 5 years. So can anybody become an entrepreneur? Yes, but does everybody has the right profile? No. And that, to answer your second question, what does it take? I think first it takes an attitude. It starts here in your brain. Recently, another guest on my podcast said, if you ask yourself the question, am I an entrepreneur? Chances are that you are not. I agree with him. You should know it's a calling. You should know deep down inside of you that you want to do it. Like there's no other choice, because it's stronger than you, because you really want to impact the world somehow. You really want to help people. That's a lot of entrepreneurs also start their journey because they want to help people, whatever it means for them, helping. And so that's what first it requires. Mentality, having a sense of purpose, having a sense, the willingness to make an impact. I often ask entrepreneurs, why did you create the company? The why. Start with Why by Simon Sinek. I'm a big fan. This is so true when it comes to entrepreneurship. I'm sure it's true for you too. There's, you're driven by this. I am driven by, I was born to be a coach. I'm driven by that. When I coach, I love those ha-ha moments. When I see the lights in people and they have a breakthrough, and I know I changed something in those people. For me, this is the best reward ever. It's even better than money. And so that's the type of purpose I'm talking about. And I would say this is the first thing. Second, becoming an entrepreneur means that you must be ready for all the ups and downs that you are going to face. No books, nobody tell you what it means, entrepreneurship. You know, think about entrepreneurship as an iceberg. We all see the tip of the iceberg. We don't see the part that is underwater, which is the biggest part. That's what entrepreneurship is about. You think you know? Well, no, you don't. You think you have acquired all the skills? Well, I can tell you, you're gonna discover some stuff along the way, and you'll be like, "Uh-oh, hold on. What do I do? What do I do now?" So you have to be ready to embark on a journey, because that's what it is. It's a journey. There are gonna be days where you're gonna cry. I did. You know, last year when the pandemic hit, I was like really, like a lot of people, I was really low. But I'm a solo entrepreneur. Now imagine for people, entrepreneurs who have staff, you know, at the end of the month, they have to think about how they're going to pay for their salaries. And so, yeah, it's a journey. There's going to be highs where you're going to be like, yeah, this is the best day ever. And 1 hour after, you're gonna face something, and you'll be like, oh no, this day is absolutely it sucks. You know, it's like the 4 seasons in one day in Finland. It's the same as an entrepreneur. So 4 seasons in one day. And then you have to be ready to learn. Like, open up, be ready to learn, because like I said, there's so much that you will discover, starting with financial management. You can't run a company if you don't learn about financial management. Like it or not, you do not have the choice, because your number one priority when you become an entrepreneur is to focus on cash, to make sure that you have cash to grow. Yeah, basically. If you don't have the mentality, if you don't have this sense of purpose, if you don't feel that deep down inside of you, it's a calling, there's a chance that it's not for you. If you think you're going to become rich super fast, if you do it for the money, it's not for you. Ask every entrepreneur you know, and ask them why they did it. Not one of them will tell you I did it because of the money. Money is just a result. You know, all these entrepreneurs, again, who became super rich, super fast, that's not why they did it. They did it because they thought that they could change the world. Like, well, nobody else was doing it. So, and they thought they would do it better, you know, too. So if you're not ready to have these, if you're not ready to face challenges, if you're not ready to fail, that's another important one. Failure is part of entrepreneurship. You will fail. It's guaranteed 100%. Now, the thing is, every time you fail, you need to learn from it so that you can bounce back and continue your journey, because your journey is not over. But if you can't do that, if you are afraid of failure, maybe it's not the right call for you. If you're not the type of person who like to be surrounded by other people, and or I would say who like to get help from external people, maybe it's not for you too, being an Being an entrepreneur, often we feel like we are alone, we are isolated, which is crazy because there's so much people surrounding us, starting with the staff. But that is because we have a lot of decisions to make, that we think we are the only one who can make those decisions. But it's not true, because other people have made those decisions before you. So it's very important as an entrepreneur that you seek knowledge from people who have it, that you seek advice, you get mentors. Don't stay isolated. But if you think like you're too good for that, because your ego is like this, being an entrepreneur is not for you. Being an entrepreneur, start by being humble. Okay. So 3 tips. I would say, 1, never, ever, ever, ever forget that your revenue will come from your clients, not from the VCs, not from, crowdfunding. What will make your company sustainable is the revenue that will be generated by your clients. Hence, sales. Sales never, ever stop. I am saying that because what I see a lot is you find this first project, and you're super excited. You're like, yeah, all hands on deck. But at the end, when the project is done, if you have nothing in the pipeline that is coming after, because while you were busy executing the project, you forgot about sales, then you're going to hit a wall. So always allocate time for business development. Always. You can get this time, like you can balance the time, right? When you're super busy working on a project, fine, maybe you spend like 20 to 30% of your time on business development. And when there is less project, then you increase the time to maybe 70% of your time dedicated to business development. But never stop. Never stop. And remember that your best ambassadors are your clients. So once you got those clients, nurture them, build a long-term relationship with them so they can buy more and they recommend others. So that's number 1 element. Number 2, I talked about it before, but I would say it again. Surround yourself with people, because this is so important that you have to mention it again. By surrounding yourself with people, I mean internally and externally. Externally, I mentioned coach, mentors, get advice from people, find other entrepreneurs, create your own clubs of entrepreneur, just talk to other people, grab ideas, etc. But internally, a lot of startups will start with maybe a co-founder. So find the right co-founder. Do not have the same you. There's only one you. It is you. You may not have to be the CEO. You can have someone else to be the CEO. You still can be a co-founder and not the CEO because you feel you're not the right person. But it's very, very important to find the right co-founders. And then once you start recruiting, it's also very, very important to spend time to recruit the right people. I mean, the people that are right for your business, not the people who are the best necessarily in their field, but the people who have the best fit, who are the best match for your business. And it starts with soft skill. Think about this question. Define what would your ideal staff would look like. If you do that exercise, I guarantee you that 90% of your answers will be soft skills, not technical skills. But yet, when we recruit people, we always think about technical skills first. No, think soft skills. Soft skills start with the right mentality, and it is also shown in behavior. And a last tip that I would give that you don't hear a lot, it's take care of you. By taking care of you, I mean both mentally and physically. Being an entrepreneur is like being a professional athlete. You know, professional athlete, they take care of themselves, they take care of their body, but that makes sense, right? Because they need all these muscles and they need to perform. But they also take care of their mental. Well, what's the difference between one runner and the other runner? If they have the same time, it's here. It's in the mind. It's the mental. It's the same with entrepreneur. You know, take care of your mental health. Being an entrepreneur is very draining. As I mentioned earlier, you're gonna face a lot of downs, ups and downs. It's a combination. It's cycles all the time like this. When you are down, you need to find ways to get up again because it's not over. It's never over, actually. So it may be very, very difficult to keep your level of motivation super high. But how can you be motivated if you're mentally drained? So, you know, consider that your brain, your mind is a muscle. Like any muscle, it needs to recover because when it recovers, this is actually when it grows. It's the same. Stop doing what you're doing, do something else. Go for walks, exercise, spend time with your family. There's life outside being an entrepreneur. And it is very, very, very important that you stick to it, to that life outside. Being an entrepreneur is your life too. But if it takes too much of your life, it's going to drain you even more. That was my 3 recommendations.